So I've been traveling for a while, so it's been a while since my last update, but I've learned a few things. I have learnt, much to the chagrin, I guess, of the people on Reddit and elsewhere on the internet, that a drill press is not a very good milling machine, although this little cheap vice thing from Harbour Freight is pretty useful for holding pieces of work, but as you can tell by the high precision scale here, this thing is not really designed for precision work, and my chuck just falls out when I try to do any milling. So I've learned doing things the wrong way is probably something I should avoid, but as you'll see in a second, it hasn't actually completely taught me my lesson, because I'm going to be boring out the end of this lead screw with an end mill because I can't find the chuck holder for my tailstock thing. So this is probably not the right way to do things. You can see I couldn't help myself. I took a little cut already. See if I can get the color to work. There you go. And it came out okay, but I'll do the rest of it on the video. So why am I doing this? Why am I drilling out the end of a perfectly good lead screw? Well, as you know from my last video, I'm trying to cut a spiral groove. Here you can see I did some of them here on this sheet of this tube of brass. So I'm trying to cut this spiral groove, and I'm getting better at it. In the last video, I had a Dremel attached to my cross slide, but I was getting a lot of flex in the tip of the Dremel, so people suggested that I get a milling machine or a router motor. So I've got that, mounted that up to some of that, T-track extruded stock. That sits there. Once this is all tightened down, there's very little flex. This tip doesn't flex, and I can cut nice grooves. So you can see here on this piece, I've cut just a straight groove here by just simply manually, rotating the guy down and holding the jaws straight, and I can get a really nice, great looking groove there. But there are two problems when I cut spirals. As a reminder, the way I'm cutting spirals here, I've actually removed the gears and the banjo from back here so you can't see it, but the way I'm doing it is I'm setting up for a 1 tooth per inch spiral, and I've been driving the lead screw rather than driving the rotor here while the mill works its way down. And I've been driving it just simply using this little hand drill here. You can see I've got the hex key, Allen key thing on the end that drives it, but doesn't provide enough torque. So and the problem with not providing enough torque is two things. One, it might be hard to see it on the video. Let's see if I can get it in focus. The edges of this kind of wobble around a little bit as the torque catches up, it binds and whatnot. The other problem is, while I started these three screws at the same point, equidistant around the circumference, they didn't actually catch at that point because the mill would come up to the end, it would bind for a little bit, and it just didn't have enough power to just consistently keep on cutting all the way through. So these screws, or these tracks, aren't equally spaced. So by mounting hopefully a low RPM, high torque motor like one of these stepper motors here to the lead screw and driving it that way, I think I should be able to get more consistent and better looking spiral grooves. So I am going to work out a way of mounting this to the lead screw, put the lead screw back and drive it back that way. But first step is boring out that hole there so that I can attach the two guys together. So I'm going to see how that goes.